Hello and welcome to my thought for the day. Now, I don't know about you, but I found all the news from the Middle East very disquieting, and so it should. Like the war in the Ukraine, we hear about it daily, and quite rightly so. For although we don't live close to either of those areas, the conflicts in them do have an impact upon us. We might know people who live there or used to live there. We might know people who have visited there. Now, this earth of ours has seen countless wars down through the centuries. Yet it's only really since the introduction of national newspapers, television coverage, and of course now social media, that these conflicts have come into our homes, into our lives. They're not an immediate part of our lives, and yet somehow they are. And I think it's at times like this that we can feel quite helpless. I know I do. We have seen protests, though, against the conflict in the Middle East, some against the Palestinians, some against the Israelis, against the Muslims, against the Jews. But whatever our religious beliefs, I believe that we need to be on the side of humanity. We need to worry about the welfare of the young and the old and everybody in between. And it's at times like this that many of us probably don't know what to do. We can protest. We can hold vigils. We can discuss the situation. We can give money to the charities that are helping there. Or we can just ignore it and get on with our lives. But whatever we decide to do or not to do, we can always pray. And yesterday I was emailed some suggestions for prayer, which I would like to share with you. And these suggestions come from the Venerable Moniz Farah, an archdeacon in St. David's Diocese who grew up in Nazareth. When you come to prayer, pray first for yourself. Pray that your heart won't separate Israel and Palestine, Palestine and Israel, so that you enter before God, totally wanting God's love and goodness to be released in the situation. Pray against fear and blame. This conflict has been going on for the last 76 years. Pray that people will begin to see one another as fellow human beings and will not fear or blame each other. Pray against the spirit of fear and blame. Pray for the families and the loved ones of those who have been taken hostage and those who have lost their lives or have been injured on both sides. And pray for those who are worried, anxious and grieving. Pray for an immediate end to the hostility. Pray for people to stop using words of hatred which undermine each other and make the other side seem less human. The end of hostility is not just about stopping the firing of bullets, rockets, and army incursion. It starts first with the heart, and then the mind, and the way we speak about each other. Pray for all those who are working for peace on both sides. Pray that they will take their call to be peacemakers very seriously. And within that, pray for the local churches, Jewish and Arabic. Pray for faithful Muslims and for Jewish leaders who will talk the conversation of peace and of justice. This conflict needs to come to an end, and we need peacemakers to begin to have that conversation. Pray that the siege in Gaza will be short, especially in relation to food, water, essential amenities and utilities. Gaza has suffered for so long and cannot sustain further suffering. Pray too for the Israeli populations, especially around Gaza, that they will not continue to live in fear, staying in protected areas of their buildings and bomb shelters, but they will be able to move in freedom. Remember always the youngsters, the children, who cannot articulate what is going on. Pray for those being held hostage and those living with great fear of bombardment on both sides. Pray for clarity. This is a complex and difficult conflict, but the complexity can be dealt with if we stop saying it is complex and just begin to say it is difficult. Because when we say complex, we cannot deal with it. So pray for clarity for how to move forward for both sides. Amen.